Elevate your brand with Elevate TV, a premier media station in the country. We specialize in video production, live coverage, advertising and social media marketing. We do quality production for YouTube videos, podcasts and live events. Transform your vision into reality with creativity and precision. Call us today and elevate your story on 0705 872 237.
Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
This is the Morning Digest Show. A very wonderful morning this day as we get to discuss matters leadership. I'm your host today, Reverend Albert Shitakwa. It's been a while since I was here. My co-host, Apostle Patrick Mureithi, has done an excellent job during the past few months, taking us through different aspects of leadership. I salute you, sir, for a good job well done. And I am glad to take the baton even as we continue on the same, breath discussing matters concerning leadership. And so, karibu sana. I want to encourage you to welcome your friends and your family to join us by sharing our pages, the Elevate TV, on your socials so that your friends can come. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and so you can use that. And I also want to encourage you to participate in the conversation. It's a conversation we are having with you, and we would be happy to have you participate in this conversation by sending your questions, your feedback, your comments as we continue on during this show. And today's topic is feedback leadership. That's what we want to talk around and converse around, feedback leadership. And I am glad and delighted again to have my good friend, Reverend Joseph Obwanda, who's been immensely helpful in many of these discussions as we talk around matters leadership. And today I have him in the show on set and he's ready to go. Rev, karibu.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
I like the way you're flowing. That's feedback for you.
Yeah, it's good to have you in the show again.
I'm
always
delighted.
A blessing to have you.
I'm delighted.
How have you been?
I've been better than good by God's grace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God has been gracious to me and my family.
That's good.
And we are glad to be here today.
That's good.
Yes.
Awesome. It's good to have you. And I think, like we said, we've touched on many aspects of leadership in my conversations with you in the past. And this is an intriguing one, feedback leadership. What is feedback leadership? What does that mean? Or what does that entail?
Actually, I think as maybe the word I would have even used is feed forward.
Feed forward.
Feed forward. So that we are thinking in terms of collaboration, recognizing that a leader is not necessarily in charge. A leader is one who creates an enabling environment for others who are in charge to share their wisdom, to share their insights, and to let him know what he needs to know that otherwise, if he was self-conceited, he may not know. Because a leader may be too focused, and as we say, focus creates blind spots.
Yes.
So there are things you do not see by dint of being focused. So that feedback leadership is such a relationship or a practice in which one who is been given a greater level of responsibility recognize that they cannot do that on their own. And scriptures are replete with that kind of concept of having counselors, having advisors, wise men like King Solomon. Imagine he was a wise man, but he had advisors. So it's a situation of recognizing
he was a
others.
wise man, but he still needed advisors.
Absolutely.
Recognized as the most wise guy.
Yes.
But he still needed advisors. So I like something you mentioned, which I think we've alluded to in the past, that focus creates blind spots.
Yeah.
So every leader, when you're so focused on what you're doing, there are things you don't get to see. And that's why you need feedback.
Yes, yes. Because then people get to let you know certain things about you that may make you uncomfortable, but it's their feedback or what their input they're giving you that helps you to have a better perspective of yourself, because you can have self-aggrandizement. You believe that you're a know-it-all, do-it-all, show-it-all kind of a leader. Then when people observe that, and perhaps we'll allude to that later in the conversation, when people realize that you are self-considered, you cannot handle feedback, then they vote with their feet. They keep off. Yeah, and I think we are living in dangerous times where, and not just now, even history is replete with leaders who are allergic to feedback, or they wanted to have feedback on their own terms. There's a story is commonly told of the naked king. This king who was very conceited, obsessed with nice clothes and nice things of life. And he met some two swindlers who offered to do for him a designer, a special magical cloth that is invisible, especially to fools. So only wise people can see that invisible cloth. So because of the fear of being seen as foolish, he needed to have this invisible cloth. So him and his ministers and his advisors, they wore this invisible cloth. And only until one day when he's parading or riding down the road, a little kid sees him and says, "Oh, the king is naked, the king is naked." Because everybody knew he was naked, but they were never going to give him that feedback because they didn't want to look foolish. So I think it's sometimes good to look foolish so long as you know you're not, by taking feedback. Yeah.
You've actually, preempted my question, even as we begin to deal with
I need to go slow then.
No, it's all right. It's good. It's a good flow.
Yeah.
But the question was, with the strong man picture of leadership, especially in an African setting, where the leader projects themselves as the one who's got the answers, the one who's got the solution. How do you give feedback to such a person? And you've already preempted by talking about, there is a tendency in which people may be afraid to give you feedback because of the fact that you may not handle feedback well.
I think my observation has been you relate to the people the way they are. So if I understand you, Pastor Albert, how you understand communication from others, especially for you as an authority, then I'll approach you from the way I understand you. You like being called the anointed of the Lord, the Apostle General International. So I say, "Sir, Apostle General International, I have something to share with you." Then I allow you to give me permission because now I've recognized you. But there are people who, they are so-called open door policy.
Yes.
They allow you, they're agreeable. So I think, one, it has to do with you having a relationship with the person that you want to give feedback. And by that I mean you know them and you know their approach, you know their personality, and you know their capacity and their threshold to handle truth. Because majority of people in leadership have a very small threshold for handling truth or a feedback that may be uncomfortable. And so it takes wise people to know how to relate to them. And we have often discussed about King David and Nathan,
Yes.
and John the Baptist and Herod.
Herod, yeah.
So you must know how to speak to power, to speak to the leader, because there are leaders who will chop your head. Just like in this country now, it's dangerous to give feedback because it's expensive. Our kids have died because they gave feedback. It's tragic. And even our families, spouses kill each other because of feedback. I mean, the university, as a chaplain, Kenya Methodist University, Nairobi campus,
Yes.
we would want to have a situation where our students give feedback. And so you see, even the government systems has demanded that the student leadership is allowed to participate in the processes that are ongoing, because it's desirable that we have a feedback approach, because the leader is not the one who is in charge. It's the people who put you in charge that are the ones in charge. So they can remove you. Yeah.
And I think gone are the days when, you know, it was a monologue, it was you telling people what to do.
Yeah.
We are in a season where, or we're in a time where, you know, people will give you feedback whether you want it or you don't. Now, what makes a leader, maybe a few, not necessarily one thing, but what are some of those things that would make a leader averse to feedback?
I mean, of course, fundamental. Okay, let me just take a step back. There are three types of feedback.
Yes.
There is solicited feedback, where you ask for that feedback, and you must be honest when you ask for that feedback. And you always ask in a posture of making yourself vulnerable. You ask, you listen with the intention not to respond, but to understand. So many ask, tell me what you think about me. But because then I say, but, the moment I say but, I've deleted your feedback. So number one is solicited. Number two is unsolicited. That one you'll be given in good measure, whether you like it or not, because people come to a point whereby they are saying, either we have to slap your ears open, right? And then there's observational feedback. That one that people may be quiet, but you can tell, like David, when his son had died, he came in, he read the room, and he was in touch with the environment, and he knew, my observation is that people are kind of uneasy, and therefore that is surface feedback. So a leader must be seized of those three types of feedback. Now, to your question, what are some of the things that
make you averse?
Make you averse to lead? One, I think, is misconception about leadership. When you think that being a leader is about you, it's about you proving a point, it's about people trying to undermine you, so you become insecure. Once you're insecure, then you become a source of insecurity to everybody, even to those who want to give you feedback.
So you look at
you project your inadequacies and insecurities to others.
You look at feedback from a narrow perspective.
Absolutely.
They are after me, after my position, you know.
Yeah. And you see, even in the scriptures, there are those leaders who are given feedback, but on account of their insecurity, and immaturity also, I must put that there, because it's a question of your exposure. If your exposure and your experience and your level of explanations of issues is wanting, then that's how you respond. So I would suppose that people respond based on those three things: your experience, your exposure, and your explanations. So if my experience on being given a feedback is has left a bad taste in my mouth, I thought that when people gave me feedback, they had conspired, especially when people start with, people are saying that PST syndrome. So leaders who do not like the feedback that starts with past, people are saying that, they feel, okay, so people are talking about me. So what happens? You already, so with that experience alone, you come to a place where you now raise your guards. You become defensive. And secondly, as I said, it's about exposure. What have you seen about feedback? What outcomes have you seen when people got feedback? You thought that people were weak. You thought that people were undermined. You thought that people were not achieving what they wanted to achieve as fast. So what do? You also say, I mean, I don't want, in fact, you protect yourself from people. Right? Especially the observation of feedback.
Yes.
Because if you are a leader who does not read the room, or you cannot walk around comfortably, you are protected from the people that you are leading. I mean, I see that in our civilization here, where there are people, I mean, it's easier to meet the Lord Jesus than to meet some leaders. Why? Because they have rings of PAs and bodyguards and layers of, they've made it, they're inaccessible. So that also makes you averse to leadership, I mean, to feedback. And the last one I said is explanations. So that means your capacity to process truth, your capacity to interact and have a meaningful discourse. So if you're somebody who is intellectually challenged, then you'd rather have yes men around you.
So of course that brings about insecurity.
Of course.
So all that also can bring about what you alluded to earlier, insecurity.
Yeah.
And then now immaturity.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and I think therefore, if you have no, because by the time people are giving you feedback, chances are you had an idea. It will not be breaking news.
No.
When people are telling you the things that you do not like, chances are that it's a truth that you are trying to run away from. And it will take a kid to tell you the king is naked. Because there are people who are around you, the yes people, and the people who will tell you what you want to hear, and not what you must hear.
So you're actually saying you need to go beyond your immediate circle.
Absolutely.
To get proper feedback.
Because that's now the concept of exposure. And the idea of feedback is that you're saying, I am going beyond my own space. I am going beyond rotating ignorance from one side of the brain to the other side. And I want to use your brain as well. So that means I want to make myself vulnerable enough to you.
Yes.
And that means there must be trust. And it's been said, and correctly so, that the best compliment that someone can give you is to trust you. So if someone does not trust you, and you can't trust them, already there's a dysfunction. And as I said, feedback ought to, for all intent, be feed forward. You become better, you move better forward when you get feedback. It's been said correctly so, that progress feeds on feedback.
Progress feeds on feedback.
That's the food. That's the what I say, the menu of
and trust
progress.
Is the prerequisite for that.
Absolutely, feedback. Absolutely. Yeah. And so there are many ways that can be achieved, and we could possibly be discussing that. I don't want to go ahead of you now.
All right. Now, you alluded to the solicited feedback, unsolicited feedback, and observational feedback.
Yeah.
So when you talk about solicited feedback, I have also learned that what is obvious is not really obvious. Where do you, as a leader, solicit for feedback? From whom?
There's a book, I can't remember the title, the name of the author, somebody it says one of those Scandinavian names. I don't want to bite my tongue mentioning it, but maybe if I mention the title.
Yes.
How the wise decide. How the wise decide, they posit about 6 things on And they've researched on some of the best decision makers,
Yes.
world global leaders, and industry leaders,
Yeah.
and religious leaders, how they made best decisions.
Yes.
And one of the 6 ways that they make best decisions, number 1, is they always get people who are diametrically opposed to each other into their team. So if I get Albert and I get, I would think of Richard, Chogo, okay. Oh, that's not a good example. You're 2 good friends. So I get somebody who I know is your worst opponent, somebody who will, anything you say will oppose.
They see things differently from
Absolutely.
you.
So if I get people who have totally different views to each other in a room, you know, they'll be outworking each other, outsmarting each other, and everybody will be bringing out their best point against the other. So a leader listens in between the two. And that way, you can decipher where is the truth. So that's number 1. So get that feedback from especially people you don't like. Don't just get feedback from the people you like. At least, as it has been said correctly so.
Yeah.
That if you want to make peace, don't talk to your friends. Talk to your enemy.
Talk to your enemies.
Because if you talk to your friends, they embolden your position.
But practically speaking,
Yes.
is that possible? Is that easy?
Because we are looking at the best practice. We are looking at how the best... I mean, look at Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Yeah.
You see, Jesus had 12 totally different characters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He had one loudmouth one who was even rebuking him, giving him unsolicited feedback in good measure. He would even advise him how to... He'd tell him, Lord, you do not know what you're doing. That was Peter. There was one who was so intellectual, he would challenge anything that he says. So he'll tell them, sit down, tell people to sit down, you feed them. That's Philip. Philip was an intellectual in Jesus' group. There was one who was, you know, spooky and heavenly minded and earthly good, so to speak. He was always seeing angels descending and ascending, and that's Nathaniel. And then there was another one who was ever calculating what is in it for me. The guy, alikuwa anaona Yesu anaona this is a product. That was Judas. The guy was planning how to sell this guy. Then there was another one who we never know anything he ever said that is recorded, that he was amongst the 12 qualified, competent 12 disciples of Jesus. We never hear. In fact, if you ask your Sunday school teachers, they will not enumerate him as one of the disciples. That's Bartholomew. Have you ever heard of Bartholomew?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
What about Thaddeus? You know, those are disciples of Jesus.
And
Now,
then the others who are short-tempered, like James.
It's not, I mean, yes, they were just emotionally honest, you know, like James. All right?
You put it,
And then there was a politician, Peter, the zealot. He was actually a political activist.
Yes.
And then there was also a very nice, agreeable, pacifist guy, the beloved, the guy who loved peace in the room. When people raise their voices, you tell them, guys, let's keep quiet. That's John, the beloved. So when you look at the...
And these are the people Jesus actually sought feedback from. What do people say that I am?
In fact, that is the best illustration of a feedback leader.
Yes.
If you can, with open-mindedness, and not because you want to respond, but because you want to understand, not out of curiosity, but out of clarity. You seek clarity, not curiosity.
You're not curious to just know what people are saying.
Yes.
You want...
I mean, that's small talk. Yes. Hey, so what is so-and-so saying? That's not for a leader.
So he was seeking for clarity.
He was seeking for clarity. What do people say that I am? So they gave him all... They went round, and he knew these guys may be telling me what they want me to hear. So he narrowed it down to them. He said, but what do you think? Now, that's a tactical approach. So it's a skill. And so you say, to your question again, is it easy? It is not easy, but it is simple because it has principles. All right? Many things that are not easy is because of the complexity of that, but there are principles that are undergirding it. So you asked, where does a leader get feedback from? I said, number one is to get it from the people around you, both those you like and those you don't like. The second wisdom in how to get feedback is go to the source. They call it management by walking around.
Yes.
Mbwa. All right? Go to the source. That book, How the Wise Decide, demonstrates that some of the best decision makers or leaders who have got the best, made the best consequential decisions, they went to the source. If they're dealing with the, let's say, health products, instead of waiting for PowerPoint presentations in the boardroom and statistics, they go right to the hospitals and the theaters, and they see how the products that their company has manufactured is actually working on the operating table. So they go to the source. So for you as a senior pastor, instead of waiting for your top church board council members to give you feedback on how the Lord is moving like hell, we are blessed to death.
The Lord is moving like hell.
Okay, you know there's cliches we make as Christians. We were blessed to death, those kind of feedback. You go and meet people, greet people. I like that you do that in your church. Perhaps you now should become a Methodist, right? Stand at the door, greet people. See the faces of the people. So go to the source. Now, that's why even in this country today, when the technocrats and the bureaucrats are giving us feedback to the country and to the leadership, we know with the PowerPoints, the economy is doing well with those GDP, all those macro level kind of lingo.
Yeah.
It's good, but when you go to the source and you see how people are really struggling, the cost of living, then you know that's where you get feedback from. So I would think those two are very critical on how to solicit for feedback.
So those around you,
yes,
and then now go
to the source. I mean, those two are very pertinent already.
We are discussing feedback leadership and why it's important if you're going to make progress. We have learned that good feedback is key to progress, and so that's what we are discussing. I want to hear your thoughts about feedback leadership. In your own case, if you're a leader, what are some of the challenges you find when it comes to matters feedback? Do you have people, or do you get authentic, genuine feedback around you, or is it difficult to get good feedback around you, and why? And so your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, any questions around the question of feedback, we will happily look at them, and what we can be able to respond to, we will also seek to respond to the same. And great insights that are coming through when you talk about soliciting feedback. I want to hear about the observational feedback, even as we get to just take a moment to take a break. In a minute or so, we'll come back and continue. But, observational feedback.
I mean, I think the principle, that best practice of observational feedback is almost like the one of going to the ground and observing and immerse yourself.
Feel the pulse of
the people, right? Be right where things matter.
Yeah.
And in fact, you've mentioned the word pulse. We'll talk about that if you remind me as a way of getting feedback. But observational, I think, is to me as important because you are immersing yourself, you are getting yourself into it. You become part of it. So you're not detached, you're part of it. As researchers, we call it ethnography. So you are part of the lived experiences in that moment. And if you look at Jesus was a very good observational feedback leader. Right? He was always amongst the people. He would observe the masses. The Bible says that when he saw the masses who were hungry, who were oppressed by the devil, he had compassion towards them. By the time a leader is not just hearing, but is listening, is not just watching, but he is also seeing, you gain insight. deep insight by being right in the heart of the situation.
You've mentioned about that, and I remember that Jesus, these guys didn't tell him they are hungry.
Yeah.
He's the one who discerned they are hungry. So that's observation.
In fact, it's good you've mentioned that discernment, and I wanted to see it this way, because you see what you see things as you are sometimes, oftenly rather.
Yes.
You see things as you are, not as they are. All right? So you have your biases. You have your lenses with which you're interpreting what you're seeing.
Yes.
So I may see somebody looking nicely dressed, and if I do not have a depth of insight and to be able to know how does that speak or sit with me, I may think that that person is okay. But there must be much more than the prima facie, what I see at the face of it. All right? And I'm trying to get at an example to this of observational feedback. I mean, look at someone like David. David was a good observational feedback kind of a leader. He would see his people in disadvantaged situations, and he'd reach out. He was empathetic. That's the word I was looking for. He was empathetic. And discernment also comes with, this is the thought, the discernment also comes with having a healthy conscience. So that if I was to add another way of where to look for feedback is inside you. Because you cannot lie to you. You might get feedback from other sources, but what about you? What is you telling you?
That's a good one. And I think that's a good place for us to pause as we reflect about, do you get feedback from yourself? Because you can't lie to you. Do you get feedback from yourself? We want to take a short break. 2 minutes. In that period, reflect on that. How do you get feedback from yourself? Or have you had that practice? And any questions, any comments, please share with us, and we'll look at them when we come back from the break as we continue with this great conversation on feedback leadership. Thank you so much. See you in a moment. 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of living in lack? Do you find it difficult to see God's provision in your finances?
Poverty is a force of evil that eventually causes destruction, that access the human domain after the fall.
This month we are launching a new series on financial healing based on Deuteronomy 8:18. And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth.
When we are able to sort the root issues in our lives, even our bodies can find peace and health.
Let healing flow through teaching, revelation, and worship from the Michaels.
In Christ I'm free indeed. No chains are holding me. It's who I choose.
The Balm of Gilead, every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m., hosted by Pastor James Kamathi. Don't miss out.
Behind every pulpit is a heart that serves, a life that leads, and a soul that often carries the weight of the flock.
Why is your church not growing?
Encourage a Pastor is a show that provides a platform to speak for the pastor, fivefold ministers, and the church at large.
Why should we just keep quiet and cry? People are not giving tithes. We keep complaining about what people are not doing. What can I do?
Sometimes when we come to the place where we understand that Christ is building the church, there is a certain kind of rest you enter into.
Engaging critical issues that encourage, equip, refresh, and envision pastors into the course of their work in the ministry.
The most important thing is the life of the Word of God. in that church.
Many people do not know the intrigues and challenges of pastoring.
This show is a blessing to leaders and the led.
Catch and Encourage a Pastor every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. hosted by Apostle David as we inform and speak for the ministers of the gospel.
Welcome back. This is the Morning Digest show where we are discussing matters leadership, and today's topic is an intriguing one: feedback leadership. One of those aspects of leadership that I believe are necessary but uncomfortable at times, yet very key to our progress as leaders and the progress of those that we lead. And so that's the conversation we are having, and it's good to have you watching from wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much, Wilbur Wanyonyi, tuned in, Jack Munyau, all the way from Mombasa. Great conversation indeed. Thank you so much for your feedback. Moses Okoth, awesome topic. Thank you so much, Moses. Pauline Maina, it's good to have you watching, and everyone else that is watching, you are highly welcome. Keep your feedback coming, keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming, and we will be happy to look at them before the end of this show as we engage. So we had paused at this place where you're talking about having a healthy conscience as an aspect of getting feedback from yourself. Explain that aspect of healthy conscience and how important it is to a person or to a leader in receiving feedback from you.
You know, essentially, when you get feedback, it's entirely not accurate. And so you have to process it.
Yes.
And the template with which you process that feedback is, how is your conscience responding to that? Someone tells you something and you know it's not true. Your ability to respond to that with grace, knowing that this person is lying to me. You know, the people can feel you, I mean, tell you a lot of, give you a lot of platitude and accolades and all those good feedback. What's your conscience telling you? Because you have to go back to that. When you retire in the evening, what's your conscience telling you? It's been said, and correctly so, that the softest pillow to rest your head on at night is a clear conscience.
I like that.
The softest pillow to rest your head on at night is a clear conscience. Because your conscience is the genuine feedback that you get. And Paul says as much
so basically you're saying you know it when the feedback is not genuine.
Acts 24:16, Apostle Paul says, I exercise myself in this one thing, that I have a conscience both clear before God and before men. Right? So when I've done something wrong and people are telling me you've done right, when I retire, my conscience will vibrate in my heart and tell me, there you lied. Right? So because that is the spirit, the spirit of a man is the candle of the Lord. He searches the innermost parts of the belly. So that illumination, that aha moment that comes from your inside reflections. So it behooves that a leader who values feedback, even when you get it from others, retreat with it, marinate it with your conscience, with the truth that you know, and then get a seminal position that you know this is the right under all circumstances. And I like to say that sometimes the most helpful and growth catalyzing kind of feedback,
Yes.
it's never so comfortable. It's sometimes very painful.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the irony. You know, we've grown together from our teenage years.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things that is, I think God works it this way, that he gives you the most genuine feedback from the people you can easily discount and dismiss,
Yes.
and people you are better off than, so that it tests your pride quotient. Look at the general,
Yes.
Naaman.
Yes.
The feedback he gets is from a slave girl.
Oh, yeah.
He must have had all the best doctors, all the best consultants, soldiers. They gave him the best military level kind of feedback about his health. But the young girl said, with as much innocence, he said, General, you may not like this, but you have to go down. There's a prophet.
Yeah.
And that's how it is, that you'll find for the parents like us, some of the best feedbacks we get that we may not like are from our children. The leadership of this country, we've turned a very dangerous turn that God, after all the experts and all the legacy politicians and all the people have spoken, the people that would now give the raw feedback to the country are our children. And we could not handle that. We told them, teachers, don't whip them. Then we shoot them. Which one would have been easy? Because this generation were the ones who, capital punishment, caning in the schools was removed. But now they came to the streets and we did what? We shoot them. And I'm saying that the feedback that sometimes helps most comes from the sources we are, let's say,
would easily
dismissful, and we have a condescending attitude towards, and we'll label them, we'll call them names, and that is to me where it goes back to what do we really want. And one of the best examples of a feedback leader who failed was King Rehoboam. Rehoboam becomes a king, and he goes to ask for feedback from the elders who used to advise his father Solomon. So not King Solomon is already wise, but he had advisors. How wise were those people? If the wise were enwisening the wise, they must have been very wise. So he went and asked them, the people are telling me, lower the cost of living, reduce the taxes, and we will give you more terms than 2. It will be more than 10, it will be more than, we will serve you the rest of our lives. And the king goes and asks the wise men. And the wise men tell him, what the people have told you, it is good. You go and reflect on that. If you do that, you'll be vulnerable, but you will be sustainable. He goes and asks his peers, and his peers tell him what he wants to hear. We call it the Rehoboam syndrome. When you get feedback on your own terms, you advise people how to advise you. So Rehoboam says to the peers, the people have told me to do this. Do you think I should listen to what they've said? And the young men tell him, no, tell the people that it's our turn to eat. It's not, in fact, tell them, my father used to whip you with rods. I will whip you with scorpions. I will make hard life more difficult for you. He became even melodramatic about it. That's arrogance. In fact, it's called hubris, thick arrogance. And the Bible says the guy did not survive. And that is a tragedy of lack of feedback leadership. King Saul, how did he lose his throne?
Again,
feedback. Because he saw that the people, he was becoming unpopular. And people were starting to defect from him. And in his desperation to keep the people, the guy did what he was not supposed to do. And when the prophet came and gave him the candid feedback and told him, what you're doing is wrong, the guy tried to justify himself. And that's how he lost his kingdom. So, and we are using this with as much respect to our leaders across board, both the religious, political, industry, family, everywhere we have people in places of responsibility. We began by saying, leadership is not about being in charge. but it's about creating an environment for those who have put you in charge to thrive.
So now, I've heard you, and I think we have raised pertinent issues about the state in which, where we are at, based on our either lack of appreciating feedback or, you know, become hostile to feedback. Now here is a leader who is hearing us and is like, I want to get good feedback. But then what are the tools I need to employ or deploy in order for me to access genuine, authentic, good feedback, honest feedback?
I mean, I personally think getting feedback ought not to be technical. It's a relationship, right? So what I'm hearing, that leader, especially if you use the word want, if you really want to, then the how to will not be a problem.
So it begins with the want.
Just want to. Then the how to will not be a problem. So
actually that's the beginning.
That's the beginning.
The beginning point is to want feedback.
Because if you're saying you want feedback, but you have Rehoboam spirit, you want a feedback that is comfortable and suitable to you. You are likely, as my friend Professor P.L. Lumumba says, you will get feedback that will inflame your anger, all right, rather than enlighten your eyes. And so if you want to, and people know when you want to get the feedback.
Yes.
And so, number one, as we said earlier on, don't listen with the mind of you want to respond. I see even in some of the forums in church, even the university, we invite people, we send Google forms, and we tell people we want your feedback. Even a meeting, a leader says, okay, today we just want to listen to you. So the people start talking. And you can tell, as soon as they say anything, the leader is prepared, oh, let me explain that. You didn't want the feedback. You are prepared to respond. So the easiest thing, you know, the word listen and the word silent are made of the same letters, just rearranged. That tells a lot. Just be silent and listen. You can't listen if you can't be silent.
That's a nice one.
All right?
That's a nice one.
Let people tell you, say, I've heard you. I've heard you. Another approach I've seen that is very helpful, it's a situation of always ask in a conclusive manner, okay? Ask, what are some of the things that I am doing right? Or what are some of the things, or one thing, you can even ask one thing. I just need to know one thing that I need to do to improve. So once people hear that, they're listening to intentionality. And you see, there's no way you can respond after you've been told the one thing you need to do. If you knew you had 5 things, then why were you asking us for one thing? And then the most important and critical one is, and that's where it kind of summates what we've said. If you get a feedback and you do not demonstrate or you do not act on it in a way that is, responding to that feedback, then people say, you actually just wanted to hear us, not listen to us. So what action do you take, or did you take? Genuine action did you take that can be tied to the feedback you got?
That's a good one, because sometimes we ask for feedback, and then people give feedback, and they wait to see what you do, and there is no action. So that challenges or demoralizes the people from even giving you feedback.
Absolutely.
Any more feedback. So they then watch you.
I mean, people become apathetic. They say, unafikiri tumempatia feedback ngapi? So what happens? People now, they develop a mindset that actually they leave you to your own devices, and they avoid you. Right? But when you give feedback, the same energy with which you asked for that feedback, the same energy you should use to give them feedback on their feedback.
So people need to see you act.
I mean, I'll give you an example. In the public domain, right? The young people gave feedback to the country. Maybe I do not entirely agree with the approach of the violent approach to it, but that came, it was long coming. And it tells you a lot. When people have to take certain radical approaches to give you feedback, then that observational feedback is also about the reaction of people. You see the reaction of people. And so when the leadership of the country decided, oh, based on your feedback, we have taken these measures, right? But then no sooner than they had taken those measures, then they also undid all those same measures when things had cooled down. So the people that were, if it was the cabinet that was fired, they were all fired. Then after some time, they are all being replaced back to cabinet and positions of state. I mean, there are good reasons. We may not know the dilemmas of that level of responsibility. And I'm not trying to succumb to Stockholm syndrome, where I'm feeling sympathy for somebody I should be calling out. But my view is, let it be that people can own the impact of the feedback that they gave you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So once people give you feedback, they need to see that you processed it and actioned based on that feedback.
And I think the other thing which we must not miss is that receiving feedback from people is one of the basic respect you can accord to people. If I ask you, one of my favorite questions I ask people that work in my team, both in the university, in the church, and in the Heshimika, which perhaps you can mention later, is, what do you think? Those who have the benefit of receiving my voluminous communications, I can be wordy even on writing, on SMSs or whatever, on WhatsApp. I often try to conclude with, what do you think? The moment I ask you, what do you think? It communicates a lot, and I mean it, because I know you must be thinking. You're not empty. I don't have monopoly of knowledge, and all that I've said is to say, this is what my level of ignorance gets me to. What about yours? Can we cross-pollinate our ignorance? Then we can together become wise. And that's why the Bible says in Proverbs 15 that in the multitude of counselors make war. In other words, you can win the battles for yourself by being your own self-conceited personal consultant and advisor of yourself. But if you want to have the bigger picture, the war, then you need counselors, because it's like a diamond. There are many different, contours and nuances and facets to the same thing. It's the story of the six blind men touching an elephant, and everybody was giving their feedback of what is an elephant. So the one who touched the leg described it in the way that, as we said earlier on, experience, exposure, and explanation. He said it is a big, strong wall. The one who touched the tail said the elephant is actually a forest. The one who touched the trunk, he gave his own illustration. And that's the same way. We all have the elephant of leadership. How can you have the angle to it and claim that that is all about the elephant? And that's why feedback. You get all the different views, put them in healthy tension. In any case, God is the ultimate feedback leader. See, he says, come, let us reason together. See, he could have even just excommunicated Adam from the Garden of Eden on the first instance without tolerating his, and he asked him questions. Where are you? And where are you is not because God didn't know where he was. He knew. But where are you could be the same question of, what do you think? I want to hear your version of this matter. I don't want to come with my own preconceived judgment. I see you are naked, but you're trying to hide. So even you as a leader, when you're trying to hide, the people can see you are naked. They want to make for you fig leaves, but you are busy they want to use a skin to cover you better. You are using fig leaves. They still can see through the fig leaves to see what they didn't. You don't want them to see. So I am thinking that if from the onset of our first parents, feedback with the divine was the modus operandi, we must use the same. And I like what Jesus also demonstrates. He asked his disciples a very hard question. What do people say that I am? And so what do you, how many leaders can ask people that question genuinely? What are people saying about me as a chaplain?
And I liked the question you asked earlier. You know, what do you think I'm doing right? And where do you think I need to improve? I think those are good questions that can elicit feedback. But again, like we said earlier, trust again.
Absolutely.
Is so now. As a leader, you talked about, I remind you about Pulse. You wanted to say something about Pulse.
It's a model I learned some years back. So occasionally at certain intervals on my own life and to the teams that I lead, we use that matrix. It's an acronym. For P is participation. How are people participating in your leadership processes?
So that's now,
it's an acronym.
Let's bring it in the context of, you're talking about observational feedback.
Yes.
So you need to read or feel the pulse.
Feel the pulse. So it's like, okay, I want to feel the pulse of the country. I want to feel the pulse of my church. I want to feel the pulse of my family. All right. So P is for participation. What's the level of participation? And our constitution demands public participation. So it's provided that there must be participation. Because the people say, if it's not about anything, nothing about us without us. If it's about us, involve us. If you don't involve us, it's yours. We will not be part of it. You is understanding. So how do people
level
participate?
Of participation?
Yes. How do they understand what they are participating in? If you're the only leader who can explain what you are doing and nobody else can explain it, then there's a problem.
Yes.
You'll always be, because people cannot feed back to you if they don't understand what you're up to. Then L is the logic. Is there a meaningful, is there a progressive, so that people give you a feedback based on the step by step or what you told them you want to do, and you've said, okay, this part I'll do this day, and then this day. So they'll give you feedback based on your pre-commitments to them, because there's a logic. Something is following something. But when they see you are haphazard, confused, doing everything at the same time, but that's a Machiavellian law of power. It says if you can't control them, confuse them. So they don't want a logical, predictable way, so that they don't get feedback. Then S is sensitivity. How is it touching the lives of others? How is it empathetic? Is it sensitive and responsive to lived experiences of the people? So as a leader, you need to ask yourself, where are people? For example, a church leader, you want this lady who is very committed in your church to be in church on Sunday morning, prepare for worship, and then stay in the church the whole day. Then on Monday they come for reflections. On Tuesday they're coming for consultancy. Wednesday's midweek service. Thursday, you're not being sensitive, so that you can make an observation of feedback. You say, this lady has, then you start becoming the intercessor for the husband, and then you can become an interceptor also. You know what I mean? Why? Because you have not been sensitive, and you've not been making observation of feedback on what is going on. So you need to be sensitive. Alexander the Great was such kind of a leader. He was so sensitive to the state of his soldiers. Same to David. Why? Because you get feedback on the condition of the people. And the last one is E, the energy levels. The energy levels talks about, is there enthusiasm? Are people as excited now as they were before? When people are no longer using the same, language, the same cliches, the same slogans, the same, they're not singing the same songs, quoting the same scriptures with the same fervency, it could mean there's something that has dropped.
Yes.
And those are observational feedback. So I think doing a pulse check.
I like that.
Yeah.
So participation, understanding,
logic,
sensitivity,
yeah,
and energy. Those are wonderful. I mean, that's a good guide for observational feedback, where you feel the pulse of the people that you are leading. I think that's a good way to have feedback that is observational. Apart from, remember we talked about solicited feedback. Unsolicited is always there, and then there is the observational feedback. And so I like that. And so as we continue on that question of, I mean, actually we are coming to a place where we're going to be concluding on the issue of feedback. I appreciate the need for feedback. I appreciate, we have talked a lot about soliciting feedback. From whom do we solicit feedback? We have talked about our own getting feedback from us. We have also talked about now the observational feedback. I want you to slightly touch, before we get to conclude, slightly touch on how do you handle unsolicited feedback? Is there a place for that?
Yeah, you see, when we get unsolicited feedback, it could be, one, initially we're maybe inaccessible, so, or we ourselves didn't know we even needed it, and therefore it is that which is donated to us. It's given to us out of necessity, all right? That maybe the circumstances obtaining are such that people are judged that we do not know what's happening. And therefore they may go unorthodox, they may go against the chain of command to reach to us to give us that unsolicited feedback. And I think in the same way that we handle all the other feedback, feedback is, as I said, is a feed forward. You ask yourself, because you must also assess it, and ask yourself, is it objective? Is it with facts? Is it the truth? And the same way you react to any feedback, it's a question of take it in, don't need to respond to it, reflect on it, understand it, interrogate further, probe further. Because you meet somebody in the streets, they say, hey, you're naked. That's unsolicited. And you can easily become insecure and defensive. Because that's the easiest way. The easier way to go to respond, to react to unsolicited feedback is to defend and to dismiss. So in wisdom, you could easily engage and interact further and say, okay, I'm naked. What makes you think I'm naked? Okay. If I was dressed, how would I look like? All right. There any preferred dressing that you'd think would help me that so that I don't remain naked? What you're saying is you are stepping into that side of the conversation and you're being considerate. Think through the other person's thoughts, feel through the other person's feelings, speak through the other person's words or mouth. In other words, for a moment, step out of the picture. Because my view is when people are giving you feedback, like we began by saying, you must be very focused. And in your being too focused, because you're looking straight at this camera, therefore I cannot see other things in the studio. And so the people around me, because they see I'm too focused, so it's not necessarily because they are being unfair or unkind to me, malicious, no. Have a positive attitude, then start engaging in it meaningfully. Say, okay, oh, you've come to my office, I didn't invite you, I didn't have an appointment with you. It must be something so important. Yes, sir, it is important. Okay, sit. Tell me, what is it? And the person goes on ranting or venting. And say, okay, I've heard you. But I would like to understand more. You don't say, okay, but you can't use the word but when you are getting feedback. You delete that. If your vocabulary is so limited that you must use the word but, just upgrade it to however. Yes. However, I was also thinking, so engage it. I mean, in a nutshell, for any feedback, engage the person giving you feedback. Meaningfully, respectfully, open-mindedly.
Whether solicited or unsolicited. Awesome. I mean, time is fast spent, and we need to bring this to a close. And I mean, so many truths that have come through in the conversation that we are having about feedback, and we have talked about various aspects of feedback and how you as a leader need to respond to feedback. And I think it's in the spirit of helping us to cultivate a culture of feedback that is so critical and necessary for great leadership. And so, Rev, I think, I'll give you probably your 30 seconds to give us your parting shot. What do you want guys to go home as they reflect on what we have shared on with? Look at the camera and just speak to them in 30 seconds.
Thank you. I think, as we said, feedback is not a bad thing. So we must change our attitude about feedback and choose the word feed forward. And I am privileged to lead Heshimika Foundation, which helps us to interact and engage with people with view of affirming their sense of personal, professional, and patriotic excellency. And in that, we've gotten feedbacks, and we can recognize that there is a sense in which we must have conversations, we must engage with people who are different from us. And I don't know, with the permission of Albert, I want to mention, we have had, particularly the Gen Zs in this country, the young people in this country. And as Heshimika, now we are putting up a massive nationwide mentorship program for university students beginning in the next month. And to me, that's a practical way that let's have a platform of mentorship and interact around what we call virtues, values, and principles. Because virtues are who we are, values are what we do or not do, and principles are the why. And those three things, VVPs, will definitely help all of us as a country and individuals, families, churches, to be a people who lead on feed-forward leadership. Thank you very much.
Amen. Feedback is feeding forward for good leadership. Let's think about it from that perspective. I think that's the place we can stop and pause and see you next week. Same time, same place. I've been your host, Reverend Albert Shitakwa. Thank you for watching and being part of this show.